Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm your host, Cortney Bloomer. Today's show is brought to you by Lone Mountain Veterinary Hospital in Carson City, providing top-notch care for pets and animals in northern Nevada. Our guest on the show today is Kevin Moore from the Nevada State Office of Traffic Safety, and he's here to share with us a little bit about the Zero Fatalities program. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Cortney.
Zero Fatalities is an OTS program that is really geared towards young people here in our state. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, it grew out of the Zero Fatalities Nevada program because we recognize that our teens are dying at an astronomical rate. It is the number one reason teens are dying is car crashes. So we wanted to target specifically the 15 to 20-year-old demographic, and because it does take a different level of communication to reach them as it would an adult in Nevada.
Right. So automobile accidents and traffic fatalities, as you mentioned, are the number one killer of teens, and a big part of that is the recent kind of issues with texting and driving. How's your program addressing that?
Yes, distractions are the number one reason car crashes in general are occurring. And texting and driving is one component of it. You might be surprised that it's not the number one distraction for a teen specifically. Maybe adults, yes, but teens, the number one distraction is having another teenager in the car with them. Just by having one more teenager in the car with them, their chances of a crash go up by 50%.
Wow.
Yes, it's crazy. In fact, that's why when a new driver receives their driver's license, they're not allowed to have a passenger under the age of 18 with them, except immediate family, for the first 6 months. Because we just want them to focus on driving and concentrate on being a good driver and building those foundations.
All right. That's an interesting piece of information, and something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that what's going on in the car is an important factor about what happens around the car.
Absolutely. If you can imagine, and I always, when I talk to teens, I give the example of what is it like when you're driving with mom and dad or grandma, grandpa in the car, and then compare it to when it's lunchtime at school and you're running down to your local fast food place with your friends. You realize the different scenario that creates, and the aha moment happens, and they go, yeah, you're right. There is a lot more going on in the car when I have my friends with me.
There is. Yeah. So to address this, there is the Zero Fatalities program, but you guys worked with a local Carson City student on a senior project to make a film about safe driving. We have a clip about the film to show, but tell us a little bit about this and how this project came about.
Yes, Sara White, a Carson City high school senior, reached out to us and wanted to do a safe teen driving project for her graduating assignment. And we kicked around a couple of different ideas, and we ultimately decided on making a PSA about texting and driving and drinking and driving specifically for teens. And so Zero Fatalities, we were able to bring together all the partners in that process of making the video, where we brought in the Nevada Highway Patrol, the Carson City Fire Department, and of course the film producers themselves, so that we wanted it to be very professional looking and come across as best as we could. And Sarah utilized her classmates as actors. Michael Hull actually donated a car for us. Cal Nevada actually gave us a crashed car. Wow. And we had so many people who were buying in on this because they realized how important this message is. And we just wanted to come off the best possible.
All right, let's watch a clip.
Yeah.
Want me to respond for you?
No, that's fine. I don't want you reading that message anyway.
It's bad enough we all had a couple of drinks. Just put it away.
Carly, I'm fine. Really.
You're drunk. I shouldn't have driven with you.
I'm fine. We're fine.
Just focus on the road.
Trooper Dan Gordon with the Nevada Highway Patrol. I'm currently assigned as the Public Information Officer here for Northern Command West. Some of the things that we do crash investigations, a lot of them. So there are several crashes that come to mind. The ones that are involving young people, teenagers, or even younger kids are always the hardest to deal with. There was a crash back in 2010 down in Douglas County where 3 kids that had just graduated high school the day before the crash were meeting in a parking lot, and this is down in Gardnerville. They met in the parking lot and they were getting ready to go to a friend's house. The car that was speeding and driving recklessly attempted to avoid that pickup truck, ended up going off the road, crossing over the double yellow line. It actually got struck on the passenger side door by the truck, and the car flipped several times in the air, and the only unrestrained passenger, who was, I believe, 21 years old, and he was ejected out of the vehicle and ended up landing in the middle of the street between the two travel lanes, and he was killed instantly. Community-changing event because it was a combination of so many bad decisions. One of the passengers not wearing a seatbelt. Worlds collided that day, and it just somebody lost their life because of a lot of bad decisions.
Hello, you guys hurt? You hurt? Emergency 50 command. We have 3 patients, 1 DOA, 2 critical. I'm going to need an additional rescue and 2 medical helicopters to the scene, please.
Don't treat your love like a passport.
We're going to have to cut you guys out of the vehicle, okay? Your vehicle's damaged so bad we're going to have to cut you out. We'll explain everything as we go, okay? Passengers, DOA, drivers, the most critical out of them.
So don't treat your love like a passport. Getting stamped on every page. It'll fill up before you know it. The places you visit but never stay.
All right, so that clip showed a normal driving excursion by some teenagers and some of the pitfalls that teens can experience, and then ultimately the consequences that some of them end up facing. A very sobering video.
Yeah, and that's actually the point. I'm glad you used the word consequences, because we do want to get that across to new drivers, because it's a video game mentality, and that it never happened to me.
Right.
And so we want to get that message across and say, hey, look, this actually is reality, and you need to pay attention while you're driving.
Right, because some of the consequences are life-changing. You or a friend could live a life with, paralysis or some serious injuries, or, you could not make it through the crash.
Yeah, absolutely. And these young new drivers are out there on the roads along with us. So there is a ripple effect. It's not just them. Their driving affects everybody.
Right. Everyone else on the road is subject to the people that they're sharing the road with. Now, speaking of sharing the road, Nevada last year had the highest pedestrian fatality rate that we have ever had.
Yes.
Teenagers walk too. They walk a lot, actually, back and forth to school, and the same kind of things apply to walking as do driving, the distractions and stepping out in front of traffic. How does your program address that with the teens?
Exactly. And during our presentation, we talk about being pedestrian safe. And you know as well as I do, you see teens, they have the earbuds in, and they're either listening to music or they're live Facebooking or they're on social media of some platform and not actually paying attention to their walking. And interesting enough, we cannot pin it on it's always the driver's fault or it's always the pedestrian's fault. Right now it's a 50-50 who's at fault. And it just is an awareness that, hey, be responsible out there and pay attention to your surroundings at all times.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, you know, pedestrian versus car, pedestrian's not usually going to win.
No, definitely not. And even though pedestrians have the right of way in the crosswalk, never assume that the driver even sees you. Make eye contact, make furtive movements so that they know you are ready to cross that street and just thinking about it. Very intentional. Don't be iffy about it. Stand there and wait for them to stop.
Right. Make sure that they see you. Like you said, make eye contact. That's a really great way to make sure that the driver is in fact looking at you and not looking down, adjusting the radio or across the street somewhere else.
Exactly.
All right. Carson City has recently made a lot of improvements to the downtown area. They're getting ready to do some corridor improvements further south on Carson Street. We're seeing a lot more people out walking. We see as the weather's getting better this summer, the weather's warming up, more people are out walking, more people are out biking. As some of the summer holidays come up, you know, we're coming up on Memorial Day and the 4th of July. We know those are historically dangerous times to be on the road. What are some tips that you'd like to share with people who are using Nevada's roadways this summer?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you brought up the bicycle component because, yes, we have such a huge bicycling community right here and other places of our state. And you need to move over. The law says you got to move over 3 feet and give those bicyclists room because they do need it. Again, it's all on drivers. It's a shared responsibility. We all need to be aware of each other and take care of each other because it does matter. Again, we go back to that ripple effect. It's not just going to be somebody else's problem. It affects us all.
That's right. And May is Bike Month. We're in the midst of Bike Month right now. There are a lot of bikes out and about, so good to be aware of them and to recognize that they are allowed to be on the road and to respect their space.
Respecting a space, absolutely. I love that phrase. That's a great example. They have just as every right to be out there as motor vehicles do, and motorcycles is where it's motorcycle safety awareness week. More and more riders are going to get out there on the road, dust off those bikes that have been in hibernation all winter, and maybe we're not used to seeing them as much, and now we're going to start seeing them a lot more.
We sure are, and so we'll be looking forward to safe roadways this summer and really taking care of everyone who's out there just trying to get to where they need to be.
Exactly, and our goal is always zero. I truly believe at some point in our society where we won't have a year where anyone died on our roads. And what a great moment that'll be.
That'll be really fantastic.
Yes.
All right. Kevin Moore with the Nevada Office of Traffic Safety Zero Teen Fatalities Program. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Cortney. I'm glad to be here.
All right. And thanks to all of you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City. Today's episode was brought to you by Lone Mountain Veterinary Hospital in Carson City. If you are looking for a fantastic place for veterinary care for your pets, check out Lone Mountain Veterinary Hospital. My name is Cortney Bloomer, and I am happy to host It's Your City. We'll see you next week.